We just on some do whatever we feel mode. I didn't choose this font, but okay, it is what it is. Now, I wake up from a nap and I said, well, since I've waken up from this nap, let me address these messages I got and people saying Gene Deal is tripping. Uh, First off, Gene Deal wasn't speaking to me. I saw the video you're talking about. He wasn't speaking directly to me. He was speaking to the people he addressed. Choke the joke. We all know what we think about him, so there's no surprise there. But there are others in which we, like, I've never really had a problem with Tough TV. So he addressed Tough TV. A lot of his takes, I agreed with. But I guess he said some words for Gene Deal. Now, let me give you my words. To Gene Deal's statements that he's been making over the past few weeks about this trial and this whole situation. I've already addressed my Patreon members a while ago. Gene Deal is a man that stands and rooted in integrity. That has been his take, is that he's doing this off of integrity. And people supporting Diddy Combs, it's like, what are you supporting? This man has no integrity. That's been his claim to the example, the rule of the letter. Here are my words. I find that some of the things that Gene Deal is doing is misdirection because he doesn't like a human being. You detest a human being, so everything in the world you seem to bend towards him. And that hurts you and your credibility when you do that because it seems tainted and slighted. Case in example. We're going to go off some of the points that you've made about Mr. Combs in the past that I can recall. You said D. Ferg. You were upset with him over D. Ferg the most. That was the most upset you've been about him, was D. Ferg. Now, the most you were upset about this man was D. Ferg. And that D. Ferg came there to borrow money because he owed some guys. He saw you had money in your pocket that belonged to Diddy, but you did not give it to Diddy yet. He goes in, see Diddy, comes out, you ask him, did he give him the money? D. Ferg said no, and then he left. You were upset, you came in there, and you gave Puff his money, and he didn't even know you had it. And now you felt mad because you could have gave that to D. Ferg. Then you said the next day, D. Ferg was dead. That's the version I heard from you. Now, if anybody was listening to that story, what would you think the reason D. Ferg died? And rest in peace to D. Ferg. What would you think the reason would be for his demise? You would think the person that owed him the money, or who he owed the money to, because Diddy didn't give him that money. The person that he owed the money to took his life. And Diddy could have saved him by giving him the money. You see what I mean, Gene, by misdirection? D. Ferg was on dialysis. His kidneys was failing him. He died from kidney failure. Had nothing to do with Sean Diddy Combs or the person he owed money to. So this is what I keep talking about. You see? What's up, Mr. Bailey? I appreciate it. Y'all hit the like button, please. Mm-hmm. Yep. Good evening to you, too. Now, that's one of your stories. And I want to know if Gene Deal is listening. Y'all send this video to Gene. I would like for him to clarify that. I would like to clarify, why would you put something like that on an individual, even if you don't like them? Why are you doing that misdirection? To let people believe that because he didn't give this man the money, that led to his demise. Because the average person isn't going to look up or investigate it. Now, let's go to the Wolf situation. And the issues you had with, you didn't like what happened with Wolf. You claimed Sean Diddy Combs put a battery in his back by saying to Wolf, I don't need you no more. I'm gonna pay you your $300,000 and I'm through with you. I got them. And he said, Wolf said, I'm gonna show you them guys ain't what you think they are. And that put a battery in his back. And then he went up there to the party, got into it with the girl he was messing with, and got into a scuffle. They threw Wolf out. Then Wolf started, him and his friends started blasting, and they hit Big Meech in the butt. And then it was a shootout, and Wolf lost his life in this shootout. And it's because Sean Diddy Combs put a battery in Wolf's back. Now, here's the situation. And again, I want to be clear. Wolf's situation has zero to do with Sean Diddy Combs. BMF and Wolf and Bad Boy, they were all in cahoots. They all partied together. They all was in Atlanta. The North Carolina show. And Wolf actually took one of his guys who was a known, somebody who was a marksman, very good with letting this go. Wolf took him to Meech and them and said, hire my boy. He need a job. Got him the job. That had nothing to do with Puff. Nothing. Had nothing to do with Puff. That was his guy. This guy was a serious dude in the streets, right along with his other dude who was a very serious guy. Wolf's right hand man was with him. Now that guy is on the other side. Wolf was messing with a girl, right, that he met that was rolling around with their crew. She was allegedly pregnant. I don't know what happened there. But all I know is Wolf was dating the girl. And she started dating another member in BMF. Wolf was there and him and the girl was having problems. And so Wolf show up and Meech, from what I was told, came over and told him, man, dog, you know how many this is in this place? You want a bit, dog, we'll give you a bit. Like, you don't need to be at odds with this chick. You know, she with him now, and that's that. We will get you hoes. Like, in Atlanta, like, dog, don't, you embarrassing us. You know, you making us look dysfunctional. Don't do that, bro. You know, like, you good. So, once again, he goes over and tries to grab the chick. She talking crazy. She's had a lot to drink or something to drink. She comes over. She knocks his baseball cap off and shoves him, telling him to get the hell up out of there. So he tries to choke her out in the club. They came escorting him out of the club. He decided to wait with his right-hand man and came back to the club ready for whoever came out the club. And he shot Meech in the butt. And the guy who he got the job with them allegedly came up to them and shot both of them. Shot and took the life of Wolf and his right-hand man. And that's how that story goes. And that story had absolutely nothing to do with Sean Diddy Combs. Then you said you were upset because he was bragging about cursing out Wolf's mom before, Puffy. Again, it just seems the more you talk, Gene, not to say you don't have valid claims to be upset with Sean Diddy Combs. It's just that when you talk in misdirection because you're upset with this man, you seem to steer everything towards Diddy. Diddy is responsible for everything. It's ridiculous. Stay grounded in the foundation of reality of your claims and then go from there. If you say this is just my opinion on it, that's fine. You're entitled to have an opinion like everybody else. But it comes off as skewed when you see all the elements that took place. Like when we had the disagreement with Andre Harrell. You were not knowing that Tupac was just with Andre Harrell previously, and I had to just correct that story. And I told you, I'm like, Chin, come on. You know, that's not true. You know, and like Diddy and them, Diddy ain't know that dude was gonna be there and what was going on there. You know that. They wasn't finna tell Diddy the plan. You know, like that's not finna happen. You know, Diddy don't work for them. So I'm just saying, let's be factual. It's okay to say some things, but let's be exact on the money. Even if you don't like the human being, Just trying to turn the level away towards other people. It's wrong. It is absolutely wrong. Trying to say Diddy is responsible for the negligence and his false sense of security led to the demise of Biggie Smalls. But there wasn't no setup to no kill no big. That don't even make sense. Why would Sean Puffy Combs set up Biggie Smalls to ruin his entire company, put everything at risk? He got the biggest rap star in the world. Yeah, it's time to take him out. It doesn't even make no damn sense. I'm not saying Gene said that. I'm just saying the narrative for the people in the chat. I've never heard him say that. I've never heard him say he was responsible for. Now, Gene has said to me that that was an inside job, meaning the Tupac thing was a death row thing, saying that was an inside job. Like, no, Puff ain't had nothing to do with that. That's not even how he moves. I couldn't put that on. Now, he said that himself. Now, I don't know what he's saying now, but he was saying then, especially then. I'm just saying we gotta cut this out for real. This is getting crazy. Like, I don't like Reggie Wright. Everybody know I don't like him. To me, he's a dirty cop. His information came out that he was cooperating with the feds. Believe it, 100%, because he's not a real street dude, not at all. But I don't deal with him for the fact that I've always believed he was a dirty cop, and I don't want nothing to do with dirty cops. That's just it. You know, you took an oath, you broke it, and that's just all to it. And let's get to the other statement. He claims that Sean Diddy Combs sent the feds and the LAPD to his job. Again, that wasn't true. When they came to your job, Gene, the person that sent the feds on your trail was the only eyewitness to seeing the shooter, and that was Little C's. When Little C said, "Oh, Gene," they was like, "Anybody else see this man besides you?" He was like, "Gene saw him earlier, the bodyguard." So if Little C's, who admitted to giving the feds and the LAPD your information saying it was Gene, they already had photographs of you from that night. They know what you look like. How hard is it for the federal government and the LAPD to know where you work after Little C's gave up your information? Sean Diddy Combs didn't tell them anything about go interview Gene. If you got information on that you had that, then I'll shut up on that. But when I heard Little C's say that out of his own mouth, I mean, what are we talking about? Why are you still blaming Sean Diddy Combs for putting your job at risk? What's up? I'm just saying we need to learn how to start keeping things 1,000 on the real. I'm serious about that. Because I haven't even gotten to the trial. Now, during the trial, this man was saying a lot of egregious things about Puffy, and I knew he would because he probably was so excited that he was going through this situation. I don't wish bad on nobody, not even my enemies. But like Gene always say, he ain't got no love for his enemies. That's cool if that's how you feel about the situation. But for myself internally, I just don't, I'm not comfortable with hating on somebody or putting some on somebody that don't deserve it. If a person hadn't earned it, I can't put that on them. I just wasn't brought up that way. That's because there were a lot of different things that were said, but it started to go off the rails when covering this trial. There were a lot of egregious statements made about Sean Diddy Combs, and once you start making all these claims, people are gonna say, "Well, you were the bodyguard when making the band was going on." And now the Making the Band cast is coming up with their own allegations of things that's happening. Now they're like, well, where were you? Why we didn't hear from we didn't hear from Gene Deal on that day? Why are we hearing about it now? Gene, you were there during that time. And Gene was like, I didn't see nothing. So you saying Diddy was this kind of individual all along, and he was this dirty, doing all this stuff. And then the Making the Band said you were there, and one of their claims is that they were forced to give oral to a bodyguard. You see, when you keep telling these same stories about an individual who you used to work for, eventually somebody's going to tell some story that would come into the timeline of your employment. And these stories, now you got to be like, wait a minute, that person is lying. Now you got to defend the person that you've been hating on and you've been saying all these things about for years. Now you got to go against that. You got to say, hey, I got to go against this. This is what that is. But now I got to go against it because it now makes no sense. When all along it made no sense. I mean, seriously. No. Uh-uh. Not what you said. The reasons why? No, like for instance, he was not following the trial. See, Gene Deal wasn't following the trial. Gene came up there to face off. No, Gene came up there to get his face seen. He probably was there. He's getting ready to film, promote some things. There's a lot of cameras up there. It's good promotion for Gene Deal. He didn't come up there to testify. What would he testify to? I was telling y'all that before. What would Gene Deal testify to? He was not there. Okay, so what could he testify to? This was after his time. He was not there during no Cassie years. So he wouldn't have anything to do with this federal case. And if he did testify about some things previously, there's a 5-year cutoff period for the RICO. My thing is, people are so blinded by their hate or dislike for another human being. Like he came out and said, Roger Barnes, I thank Roger Barnes. Roger Barnes came out and said that dude tried to do me dirty. Man, they tried to take my life, bro. This dude wanted me dead. Now, if you watch what Roger Barnes said, he said, man, Puff told me if we see him or Mark Curry, man, punch him in the mouth. If we see them on site, just punch him right in the mouth. And I guess that meant, in his estimate, to do something dirty. Now, he knows Sean Puffy Combs his entire life. As he told me, Sean Puffy Combs, he ain't built like that. He wouldn't do nothing like that. He told me that when they referred to Tupac. Man, he ain't gonna put no bag on somebody's head. Like, he ain't built that. Like, he wasn't built like that. So, how do we go from that to here? I have no idea. Now, all right, I totally respect Gene Deal. Gene is not somebody I would say is a liar, but he's telling these stories in misdirection. And I would like some more clarity, if he could, on these situations, because all the previous stories that I was talking about, I just need some clarification to how did Sean Diddy Combs connected to these said stories when it's obvious he's not connected to these said stories. But he can give me those if he wants to. Why would I be scared? I go to war with people that really could put bags on my head. Like Gene Deal is not somebody I'm afraid of. There's no need to be afraid of another man. If I'm sitting here and going as hard as I was on Drake, that dude is way more dangerous. And I haven't said anything about Gene Deal that's disrespectful. That's just me illustrating exactly what he said, what happened, and why is he saying that. If you hear somebody tell a story that you've heard differently, or the truth is different from the story that they're telling the story, but it's missing pieces. And the story, the way they're telling the story, is leading to a whole nother direction that it don't need to lead to. And that's not just one story. It's 2 stories. It's 3 stories. Now we have 4. So those are just the ones I remember off the top of my dome. Now, a lot of people that's on the internet get a lot of things he say wrong because they're young. They don't remember the times back in the day. Now everything he done said about Choke the Joke is true. We don't even discuss that guy anymore. You know, I I just don't know. It's just I have no idea what he's doing, how he's doing it. or whatever. But choke the joke, he'd be the main guy. I didn't get any money though. I was on Comedy Hype, and I was telling them all these stories that I be lying about. Like me and Lisa Ray. Yeah, me and Lisa Ray, we got up, right? Yeah, then she pulled out her strap on. And I'm like, who you about to use that on? Oh my God. Can Sino play some audio with Lisa Ray and Sino? Let me see if I can. If you're on my Patreon, you already heard it. You are. Your spirit is negative. Your spirit is real negative. It is. She talking. No, it was positive. No, your spirit is negative. I'm for real, Kevin. You have a negative spirit. You're very negative. I'm not negative. It's like sometimes some toxicity has trickled over on you. Because you are I'm for real, you're very negative. Well, I gotta get rid of it. That's probably been my bad luck betting on these games. These last couple of bets I made. I was probably you're very negative. And when you talk about draining and exhausting and all that, a negative person is draining and exhausting. That's why I said this conversation has turned very exhausting and draining to me. Because I'm so positive. I am. Yeah. I try to stay positive in everything. I love positivity. That's why my life is so peaceful. Yeah. I have a very peaceful life. And now, let's stay there. She's from the south side of Chicago. I'm from the south side of Chicago. So, we'll leave that there. Now, let's go to other details about what was said with Gene as of recent. Now, I don't know what Tough TV said about Gene or these other detractors. Now, I've seen Tough TV before. Tough News TV, and I've had no real problems with him. Some of the stuff Art is doing is going on the level of Djvlad. And Vlad has aligned himself with Diddy in a way of just defending him because he knows, okay, Art has got that lane of backing everybody else's claims. I'm going to do the devil's advocate. Plus, I do the same thing as Diddy, so just on a lower rent platform. So he's taking that approach. Now, Gene Deal did not follow this trial. And when I mean following the trial, it's not like I've watched teaser tales. I've watched the news. I've watched what's going on. That's not following the trial. Following the trial means going over the transcripts of what was actually said in that courtroom. So you're giving an opinion of yours based off of what you saw transpire out of a courtroom. And you're trying to make it fact when what you're saying is not even consistently true. Now, from before the trial even took place, I told people exclusively what was to happen. As they went down to try to see all the charges they had against Sean Diddy Combs. And all the charges he was being faced with, right? And they said, why Sean Diddy Combs wasn't a person who's facing. Oh, thank you. They said, why wasn't he facing defacing in all of these charges? I heard Gene Deal say that in his last video addressing these people. Back in May 20th, the defense actually told you about the guns. And if you were following the trial, they did bring up the guns in the federal court case. But they didn't charge him because it's federal. One, it's Florida law. You can't really charge him with the guns because you don't have a fingerprint on the cartridge that's in the box and locked up. All it was is that the guns was in the house and in a box, and they said they found it in his room. And the defacing of the serial numbers and all of these things. So it was part of the RICO case with guns, ammunition. All of that was part of a RICO. That he used the guns for extortion. But to try to get him with possession was going to be very hard, even though you found it in his house. Gene, here's the thing. Sean Diddy Combs is a celebrity. I told you that when they found the guns. How this wasn't no open shut case. Even me and Kwame Brown had this discussion. Because he said, I thought he was going off the guns. And I said, no. That's not going to be the case. And the reason it's not going to be the case is because when you work as a celebrity, you normally have armed security that's in your house. So it's not unusual for guns to be in a house. That security that you have in your house normally 24/7, you have your own personal security that comes and guards your house. It's not like if they come in my house and find a gun. I don't have security living in my house. And if you were following the trial, and from the transcripts, you would know when the evidence was brought up and they had HSI in there talking about the collection for the guns. Tenny Garagos said this, Jane Doe. She is the #1 lawyer when it comes to the collection of evidence in the United States. So she went through the evidence in which they collected, and they have to take pictures of it, right? And they determine which room, what came out of which room. They went to the board, Gene, and this is what happened. She says, that's the suitcase, right, where the guns are. These are the photos from the room of Sean Diddy Combs. That bag isn't here. These are all the contents that was found in the room. But when y'all did y'all presentation, this bag was added to the room of Sean Diddy Combs. But when you collected the evidence, this is the photo. Do you see that bag there, sir? It's not there. So somebody messed up in collection of the evidence and put the bag as saying it was found in Sean Diddy Combs' room. Then, here's what you missed also, Gene Deal. First, they're in Florida. Okay? Good luck getting a gun charge like that in Florida. But after proving that, they had no prints of Mr. Combs on the gun ever being fired, nothing. As far as the defacing, Mr. Sean Combs claims he's never owned a gun. The guns are not registered to him. And the fact is, the matter is, she told the HSI guy she had all the pictures of the bag beforehand, right? In front of the guys that collected it. They said, can you point to which one of these bags the guns was found in? No, I cannot. So you don't know the bag. Right now, looking at all the bags, you don't know which one of these bags the guns was in, do you? No, I do not. Thank you very much, Your Honor. You're not getting a conviction on guns. If you're following the trial, you're not getting a conviction on guns. They knew that. The government knew that's way too thin. We could use the guns to try to say Sean Diddy Combs used guns to try to push this narrative. If they go the gun route, they will not win. This is why you have to follow the case. If you follow the case, then your problems or any questions you may have about said situation will vanish. I'm serious. All your questions will vanish. But when you have an agenda and you're pushing a narrative, then you're not gonna follow, what they say, status quo. You're not following that. All you're gonna continue to do is go down the growth path and continue down the road you've been going down. But I did laugh my ass off, Gene, when you said, I ain't saying that ain't true. But if she slept with Choke the Joke, that lowered my taste for her. That lowered my taste for her. If she slept with Choke the Joke. That just lowered my taste. Man, I did laugh my ass off hearing that, because that is absolutely correct. Who a chick slept with could lower my taste for that person ASAP. That is a factual statement. Gene Deal was a parole officer. That means if something was to happen, let's say a crime was committed somewhere and he was there, and then they asked him to report, or if something happened and he didn't report what happened to them, he could be fired. He could lose his job. He could lose that livelihood, right? So naturally, if you were in that situation, what would you tell somebody? You don't know me, right? You don't know me. I was never here. Well, you always want to make sure that you're doing your part. Oh, the fights are on. Taylor versus Serrano 3. So we got some other women fighting right now in round 3. No, it's not about integrity. Look, like saying, I don't like this. This dude did this. He beat women. He did this and that. You don't have to like Sean Diddy Combs and his character, what he does. He put his hands on women. This ain't about that. Okay? This ain't, no one is saying you have to like Sean Diddy Combs. You gotta like what he does. It's a lot of Christians out here. They're like, his sick, weird behavior. He should have got time. I'm like, because of what he does in the bedroom, that's none of your business what he doing in the bedroom. I don't like what he does. Never once did I hear any of these people say, well, these women hit him too. Both women were violent against him. And what's crazy to me is he's a bodyguard. Gene was a bodyguard. Gene, you mean to tell me you never knew of a dude that put his hands on his girl and you were still cool with that dude? You know what I'm saying? He said they still hang with him all day, every day. Exactly. You say that's none of my business because it's their business. Like that's, I'll tell you, I had a friend that did that, man. He jumped up. You know, we was so mad. We was like, we got to go do something. You know, like this is getting out of hand. But the person who was going through it was pissed and took the side of her man. She didn't want nobody coming to her aid. That was the craziest night ever. I'll never forget it. She had knots on her head, everything. And She refused to call the authorities and everything, and was mad that his friends came over there to try to intervene and help her. And an extension helping him. Right. I'm not somebody who could sit there and stand and look at that and just go along and act like I don't see it. 9 times out of 10, when people do stuff like that, they don't do those acts in front of you. They go take them in private and do that because they don't want people in their business. So the only, like the time I saw that in front of me, I immediately sprung into act to stop it. Just a natural, genuine response of a man saving somebody. You know, it was like, because to save her own life, this person screamed my name out of desperation. You know, the person was in there twisting her goddamn arm, about to break it. Oh man, I had to spring into action. Like, what the hell is you doing? I had to inform that person, you're gonna go to jail, or worse. You're gonna kill her, and then decided to take your own life. And that's something you don't want to do. But your anger, you got problems, though. You need to talk to somebody. I had to tell him this. That ain't a comfortable conversation to have with people. It's not. Yeah, this is a person I was cool with. But I had never seen anything like that. And my head was like turned, and it was around the corner. But I'm like right there. It's just like around the corner. And I just hear this screaming, and I hear somebody screaming my name. Like, I barely know her at all. And she knows my name enough to scream it. Because she know I'm there. You know, out of people that's there, that's friends with him or that know him, she just screamed for the first person or anybody she could think of that could save her in that moment. And I was just right around the corner. So immediately I just shot up like a dart and went around there. It wasn't like I had to pull him off her. He let her go as soon as I came around the corner. So it wasn't that. And it was like, dude, what the heck? Like, what was you doing? Yet and still, she stayed, didn't leave, and was the same one upset the next time it happened. So there's a lot of women that suffer that really have went through abuse. Now, it's crazy to me how they say drugs have all these effects. It can make you this person that way. And when someone is taking drugs, they're an entirely different person. They become undone. But when it's Sean Diddy Combs, oh, Diddy was always that way. He's just always a violent person, with or without the drugs. Now, when the girls told you they were abused, it was normally drugs and were involved, and he was going on drugs. And they could tell when he was gone on drugs and when he wasn't. And they would have different nights when he wasn't on drugs. No, it's just people is only as loyal as their bank account. You like that. I'm not saying that's Gene Deal. I'm just saying in general, you have people like that. We all know real people. You know what I'm saying? Well, this Machado is coming. She bleeding like crazy, but she is coming. She got a fight on her hands. No. Y'all think Diddy is scary. No, it's not about being scary. I don't even know where you get that from, but no, it's never been about being scary. Oh, he's a scary individual. It's not about being scared or someone is scary. No, it's all about notions, man. So, pretty much so. I mean, Gene could make his own video and answer these things. I just wanted some clarity to a lot of these things. Like, why do you keep trying to put Diddy Combs in these situations that have anything to do with him? And this art guy who don't know Diddy from a hole in the wall, just using this dump on Diddy thing because that's what everybody want to do now. But about another thing that he brought up. Oh, she's getting caught. Oh, yep, she getting froze, walking in, just swinging. She getting counted like crazy. He's gonna say that Sean Diddy Combs, whose son, King Combs, or like, man, that's clown stuff and all. I'm like, dog, that's a son. who's happy his father, oh, he just won't understand when we start doing that. So now we are attacking the kids too, because his only living parent is found not guilty. And now it's about the money. Oh, people told me he don't even like Diddy. They at the time. What parents have not had fights with their children? You see what I'm saying? It's we're in this whole. I mean, it's crazy, man. I just don't understand when real ones start doing that. You know what I'm saying? If we're going off of when do we start doing that? I don't get it. If you don't like the human being, that's cool, but now you have trickled it down to being overly disrespectful. No, because I know when people want to do something that they feel is, oh, good shots, that they feel is up to par, or they feel, oh, good shot. Right. When people feel like, something ain't right or it ain't righteous. So if Diddy was this animal, this monster who put his hands on women, you're the bodyguard. He was around women around you. So was he putting his hands on women around you when you were there? You see how that opens you up to being somebody who was there, and they're gonna say, did you see anything? Why didn't you see something? Then people start making false allegations like they did with B More Joe, and costing him work and his job when he ain't got nothing to do with it, because this woman filed a fraudulent claim on Diddy and put his name in there with it. It's like, this is what's wrong with society. We jump behind all of these people who are not credible. You start looking at the claims. You look at Little Rod, and of course, none of those claims, they're so out of the ordinarily weird that you're saying, what? Now all of his claims that they were using to try to back up their main lawsuit, all gone. Now all this weirdo claims don't seem accurate when they got all these tapes, and in none of the tapes you see Diddy getting down with none of the men. So where they get that at? You know? No, it's not that. It's that when someone keeps spreading a narrative, and they're pushing a narrative that is because of their dislike for the person, they're blinded to the truth. That's when I have a problem. I speak for the truth. This is not about Sean Diddy Combs. This is about this case, this charges. These charges that they put in place will affect you, the black man. You, the man who don't have Diddy money. You, who would have to go through court system and go through all of the laws, everything. She getting broke down. She would have to go through all of the. She just getting countered, coming right in. She just getting caught every time she come in, keeping her head on a straight line, getting lit up. But these laws, if they'd have found Diddy guilty of these laws that you cheering for, they're gonna turn around and use these goddamn laws on your ass. Or another man who's like, hey, we just partying and she was with it. Well, now I regret it. And now I feel I was coerced. What? So they're in a relationship. So how are you gonna make that stick? You see, that's the problem that we have right now in society, making garbage stick. And this believe all women culture, everybody wants to play victim so bad. Now, why would they want to do that? Well, of course, people want to put on a show, right? They want to entertain, they want to be seen. So you have people making up claims on celebrities every single day. Every single day, B. So, exactly. You always want to make sure that you're doing the right thing, bro. For real. So, yeah, I'll let it be known. Well, yeah. Yeah, morally, I'm not saying morally you gotta he does. He need to work on himself. Well, we haven't heard him doing anything really in the last 7 years from putting his hands on women. All the stuff we heard about him was in the past. Against Jane, he was defending himself. She rammed his head into some marble or nothing. She was angry at him. So we say it's okay for women to put their hands on men, but men can't put their hands on women when no one should be hitting anyone. Yes. So thank you guys for paying attention to me for this long. We appreciate it. And yes, 100%. And I'm going to go ahead and finish watching the fights. I'll get back with y'all directly